The Bible is not a random anthology of ancient writings. It is a unified narrative. It moves with structure. It unfolds with purpose. And when we step back and examine it as a whole, four major movements emerge: creation, the fall, redemption, and restoration. Now, each movement answers the tension created by the one before it, and together they form a coherent, redemptive arc. So let's begin where Scripture begins. Genesis opens not with chaos winning, but with God speaking. Light exists because He commands it. Land rises because He ordains it. Life flourishes because He wills it. And after every act of creation, the verdict is clear: good. Then humanity is formed, not merely as biological life, but as image bearers. In Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 28, it gives humanity dominion. That word matters. It signals delegated authority. Humanity is designed to represent God's rule on earth. Psalm 8 reinforces this by declaring that mankind is crowned with glory and honor. So creation establishes three realities. First, humanity was made for relationship with God. Second, the world was designed for order and flourishing. And thirdly, obedience was life-giving, not restrictive. This was the original harmony: God with humanity, humanity with one another, humanity stewarding creation. And yet, when we look at the world today, that harmony is missing. Which brings us to the next movement. Genesis 3 records not a mistake, but a decision. Humanity chooses autonomy over trust. The temptation is simple: define good and evil on your own terms. And with that choice, everything fractures. Immediately, shame replaces innocence. Hiding replaces communion. Blame replaces unity. Even creation itself feels the weight of the curse. Isaiah chapter 59 later clarifies the spiritual reality. Sin separates humanity from God. This is more than behavioral failure. It is covenant rupture. And here, the central theological tension emerges. God is holy. Humanity is sinful. If God is just, sin cannot be ignored. If God is merciful, humanity cannot be abandoned. That tension demands resolution. The narrative cannot remain in fracture. And it does, because God moves first. Before humanity seeks reconciliation, God announces a promise. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, it speaks of an offspring who will crush the serpent. Hope enters immediately. From that point forward, redemption unfolds through covenant. With Noah, God preserves creation from total destruction. With Abraham, He promises blessings to all nations. With Israel, He establishes a covenant people under divine law. And with David, He promises an eternal throne. Each covenant narrows the focus. Each one builds anticipation. But covenant structure alone does not solve guilt. Sin requires atonement. In Leviticus chapter 17, verse 11, it states that life is in the blood. Atonement requires substitution. Justice requires satisfaction. In Isaiah, chapter 53, it reveals the suffering servant who bears the sins of many. Here, the tension is resolved. Holiness is upheld. Justice is satisfied. Grace is extended. Redemption is not sentimental. It is judicial. It is covenant faithfulness enacted at a cost. And yet, redemption points forward. Because forgiveness prepares the way for something greater, which leads us to restoration. The prophets look beyond forgiveness to renewal and restoration. In Isaiah chapter 11, it describes a ruler whose reign restores peace even within creation. In Isaiah chapter 65, it speaks of a new heavens and a new earth. In Daniel chapter 7, it presents the Son of Man receiving everlasting dominion. This is not cyclical history repeating itself. It is progressive fulfillment moving towards completion. What began in Genesis is delegated dominion is secured permanently in the coming King. Creation's purpose is not abandoned. It is perfected. The garden becomes a kingdom. Fragility becomes permanence. The covenants converge in a prince who fulfills them all. And the story, it reaches its intended destination. So, when we examine the Bible's grand narrative, the structure is very clear. Creation establishes purpose. The fall introduces rebellion. Redemption reveals divine rescue through covenant and atonement. Restoration secures everlasting dominion. This is not scattered theology. It is unified design. The arc of Scripture moves with intention. It confronts the tension of holiness and sin. It answers it through covenant faithfulness, and it culminates in a king whose reign cannot be shaken. The story that began in the garden ends in a kingdom, and the coming prince stands at the center of it all. My name is Jay Johnson, and that is part one of the biblical